Disclaimer: everything that is discussed, posted is strictly for educational and historical purposes only. It does not promote nor condone illegal activities. Ch Homer for XWROM by O.Steven'S Ch Homer won 4 matches, none made it to the hour mark. All opponents died. Match number 1 was against Frank Bunce of Michigan at 44 pounds. Frank's dog was called Blackjack and was said to be a 4-time winner. Blackjack came from the Carolinas. When released, Homer overpowered Blackjack and got into the stifles. Homer showed terrible mouth. Blackjack was unable to scratch at 40 minutes. Blackjack died on the way home. Match number 2. This match was originally between the Bishop brothers and Ziggy from Canada. The Bishops lived in Buffalo, NY, so they were close to Canada. The Bishops had trouble with their dog and contacted Ozzy to bring Homer instead of their dog. This was for weeks in front of the match. Ozzy drove to Canada, and the fight took place in Ziggy's cellar. Ziggy was using a son of Tombstone, Ch Savage. André Giroux and several of the French Canadians were there. When the dogs were released, it didn't take very long for Homer to cripple Ch Savage. At the 13-minute mark, Ch Savage couldn't push himself off the floor. Both shoulders and both stifles were gone. Ziggy conceded at 39 minutes and Ch Savage crawled on his belly like a snake to complete a scratch. Ch Savage died 1 hour later. Match number 3, this was at a convention, and it was against the old-timer Clyde Mason. His dog was called Thumper and he had a good reputation. They drove from Missouri to Pennsylvania, so they must have had a lot of confidence in their dog. He was conditioned and handled by Ray Carter. Attending this convention was Dave Adams of GRCH Zebo and GRCH Art fame. Also there was Jack Kelly, editor of the Sporting Dog Journal, and Ralph Greenwood all the way from Salt Lake City, Utah. In this match, Thumper showed to be conditioned to perfection, and had such great balance that Homer could not throw him to the mat. Thumper was very effective at holding Homer out. He stayed on Homer's head, and was very strong. Somewhere around 35 minutes, Homer seen he couldn't get to the stifle, so he switched his style and went to the head. He got a good hold on Thumper's lower jaw and he broke it. That was the crucial point of the match. Thumper could not hold Homer out. Now Homer went in for the kill. He was doing terrible damage to Thumper's stifles and between his legs. There was a handle made with Thumper to scratch. He fell in his corner and was counted out at 52 minutes. He died 45 minutes later. Judges voted Homer best in show. In that same convention, Ozzy won best of opposite sex with Ch Tammy. She was GRCH Vigil's grandmother. Also winning that night was Ozzy's Ch Rastus. Ozzy had been winning 98% of his fights for quite a while. About a year later, a combine formed to beat Ozzy. They were Ralph Livingston, Big Brad of Red Danger fame, Lonnie Woodbury, who owned GRCH Mickey, and Tony Wolf, who was the owner of Ch Saloon, a 4-time winner. The combine was using a dog called Bear, and he looked bigger than Ch Homer. This fight was at 45 pounds. This bear dog was sired by Livingston's Ch Freddy, who was a littermate to Ch Homer. Ozzy accepted this challenge even though he couldn't work Homer as good as he did previous, due to Ozzy's wife suffering from leukemia. During the keep, Ozzy missed many days taking care of his wife. On the day of the fight, Ozzy told his opponents he only had 3 good weeks of work in him, but he was fed good for 6 weeks. The dogs were weighed and brought into the pit. Both weighed 45 pounds. The bear dog started out ahead in the fight and remained there for 16 minutes or more, cutting up Homer's legs. Then Ch Homer started biting hard and coming back. Ozzy talked to him, urging him on to hurt Bear. In a short while, Bear went down and Ch Homer was biting big holes in the stifles and between the legs. Ch Homer continued to punish Bear and Bear was screaming. The combine conceded at 44 minutes. Bear died that night. Ozzy was inactive for about a year. When Big Brad came to Ozzy's house, he said we was sent to borrow Ch Homer. They want to take him out for his 5th time. Ozzy's family objected and they let Ozzy know how they felt about loaning Ch Homer out. Brad continued to visit Ozzy, trying to convince him to let them take Ch Homer. Finally, Ozzy relented and let Brad take Ch Homer. Ozzy was under the impression that Jim Stinson would work Ch Homer and that he would go at 45 pounds. Stinson always worked Billy Stepp's dogs for most all of his fights. Why not this time? In fact, Billy Stepp himself would work Ch Homer. Why? Most everyone in the dog game never heard of Billy Stepp working a dog before. Step never, ever, handled a dog in the pit. He was known as a gambler. Ozzy didn't know until 3 weeks before the fight that Ch Homer was going into Jeep. He was really upset that Ch Homer was going at 42 pounds. Now that Ch Homer was 5 years old, Ozzy felt he should fight at 45 pounds. Ozzy and Big Brad arrived in Georgia on Saturday morning. The fight was to be Saturday night. Ozzy and Brad went to Step's motel room. The first words Billy Step said to Ozzy were, "Did you ever have trouble with Homer drying out before?" To which Ozzy replied no. Billy Step said that he worked Homer and drove from Dayton, Ohio to southern Georgia. Homer dehydrated, and when he arrived in Georgia and Step weighed him, Homer's weight plummeted down to 40.5 loss. This was Thursday. Step said he then gave Homer a bucket of water. Homer drank 1.5 buckets of water from Thursday to Saturday. Step felt he would be okay. All the mistakes they made up till now were stacking the deck against Homer. Don't you think they should have given an IV or some drink with electrolytes in it? After all, does regular water have electrolytes in it? Once your dog dehydrates and you take him to the vets, would they give him water out of the faucet? I don't think so. Homer needed an IV, he needed electrolytes. They give babies Pedialyte, don't they? Why didn't they give Homer Pedialyte? Do you know why? Because they didn't know what they were doing. No previous experience. Butch House from Texas was there before the fight. He said in his opinion Homer was jacked up and it showed in his head. It was sunken in. Butch House said he seen the same thing before in Texas. On the night of the fight, Billy Step picked a friend from Florida to handle. His name was Kenny Sammons. That was another mistake, as Sammons was having a nervous breakdown in the corner as the dogs were facing each other. The referee never said anything. The next thing you know, here comes Jeep wide open. Kenny Sammons was looking to his right talking to someone outside of the pit. Homer's legs were held off the floor, then all the spectators yelled to Sammons to release your dog. The yelling scared and startled Sammons and he threw Ch Homer out into the pit. Homer hit the floor and his legs buckled and he went down. Before he could get up, Jeep was in his shoulder. Jeep stayed there for 10 minutes. Now it took Homer 10 minutes to bite him out. Where was Homer's bite? The answer, left in the gym, due to the mistakes of cutting him below his best weight, and 3 pounds below. But why, you will soon find out. So now from the 10-minute mark on Ch Homer had to fight on 3 legs. Where does that put you in your ability to wrestle? How can you throw your opponent? You are now behind. Yet the longer the fight went, the more determined Homer became and he evened things up. He was so game, he couldn't realize how bad the odds were stacked against him. The fight went on, and on, and on. Now it was reaching the 3-hour mark. Crenshaw could feel the pressure. He started feeling he might lose. So he came over to Billy Step and asked for a draw. Step then asked Ozzy, should we agree? Ozzy told him no, the draw was off. Crenshaw was worried, that's why he asked for a draw. Why? Because at the 3-hour mark Jeep was sitting in a standing position, his tongue was out and he was breathing heavily, and he was out of hold. At this moment in time, Ch Homer was in Jeep's stifle, while Jeep paid no attention and was surveying the crowd. Homer was working away at the 3-hour mark, shaking out on Jeep's stifle. When he stiffened up and fell over, and he laid stretched out on his side. By now Homer was dying. Fighting this long, Homer had to lose some weight. He probably weighed 40 pounds or less. So now that Homer fell over and laid on his side not moving, this excited Jeep and he then goes into Homer's throat. He digs in for a couple minutes, and then comes out of hold, picks up his head, his tongue is out of his mouth, he is breathing heavily. Jeep then makes a sudden right turn, and walks away from a downed dog, heading for the pit wall. Crenshaw immediately ran over and grabbed Jeep before he got to the wall. Dogs were handled and taken to their corners. This was somewhere around 3 hours and 15 minutes. Sammons was having another nervous breakdown in the corner with Homer. He was very nervous. When the referee said face your dogs, Sammons started shaking Homer up and down. This had no purpose whatsoever. You are supposed to hold your dog perfectly still. You're not supposed to call your opponent's dog to scratch, and by shaking Homer he encouraged Jeep to scratch. That was a crucial mistake. In a long fight 90% of dogs get discouraged. It is very easy for a dog to walk over within a foot of their opponents and get counted out. Sammons should have held Homer still and not moved at all. Anything can happen when the fight goes close to 4 hours. But anyway, Jeep completed his scratch. Somewhere around 3 hours and 20 minutes a handle was made, Homer to go. We all thought he was dying when he laid in his side after the 3-hour mark. Now he has to scratch. At the referee's command, release your dog, Salmon's let loose and Homer tries to go hard but is on rubber legs. He goes down, does a couple somersaults, head over heels, his backhand comes over his head. He is down, he is now facing his own corner. The referee starts counting. Within seconds Ozzie Stevens pushes past all the spectators and runs to Homer's outside corner. Ozzie yells into Ch Homer, "Get up Homer, get up baby, up, up, up." When Ch Homer heard Ozzie's voice, he began yodeling and whining and he came up the corner and fell and got back up stumbling and falling, completing an unbelievable game scratch. Another handle was made and Jeep completed his scratch. Dogs handled again and Homer was unable to go at 3 hours and 43 minutes. He died 30 minutes later. The reason Stepp conditioned and the reason his weight was cut to 42 pounds was that Billy Stepp had a $10,000 forfeit to fight his 42 pounds grand champion into Jeep. If he didn't show up with a 42 pounds dog, he would lose the $10,000. The 42 pounds grand champion was on Jim Stinson's yard, as Stinson had to condition him. Stinson had to go out somewhere and he left the dogs alone for a couple of hours. When he returned home, the grand champion came walking up to him on a broken chain. Stinson was shocked that the grand champion was not still locked in battle. Did he walk away from one of the other dogs? Stinson took this grand champion over to the other dog who was jumping for feet off the ground. The grand champion dug his feet into the dirt and refused to budge. Stinson picked him up and threw him to Ch Ruby, Zebo's daughter. She began chewing him up. The grand champion broke loose and ran. This is the dog they had $10,000 forfeit on. How could they use him now? He cleared out today. That's why they had to borrow Homer. Being as this dog got loose, Stepp wouldn't let Homer out of his sight. Do you want to know the grand champion that was originally matched into Jeep and cleared out in the yard fight? None other than grand champion Angus. If you don't believe this, then how come Angus disappeared after the Jeep Homer fight? Ch Homer was bred to only 2 females, yet made rom before Ch Jeep, although Jeep was bred to hundreds and hundreds of bitch. Well, there you have it folks, the story of O.Steven'S Ch Homer for XW1XDGL ROM.